Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Quireboys' new album Beautiful Chaos. So this is their 7th studio album, and I've been highly anticipating this, especially after seeing them support Saxon quite recently, I think about April, and they played the songs Too Much of a Good Thing and Mother Mary, which are from this album. And yeah, I mean, they're such a killer live band who I've liked for a long time, and I've had their debut and most famous Bit of What You Fancy for just ages and ages. So is this album a good representation of what the band are like live? Well, before I tell you, I'll just tell you what the members for this gypsy rock band, yes, they seem to use a bit of a tag of gypsy rock band. Yeah, so we have Spike on vocals, Guy Griffin on guitar, Paul Gowan, sorry I don't know how to say that, on guitar, Keith Weir on keyboards, David Boyce on bass, and Matt Goom on drums. I think Spike, Guy Griffin and David Boyce are the only original members. I'm not sure though, don't quote me on it. Okay, so we'll kick off with the single Too Much of a Good Thing, in which Spike's great gravelly voice, I mean, it sounds like he's been smoking and drinking all his life, which is probably a fair assessment. I mean, it's Spike, and I know for a fact he likes his booze. Anyway, this song is everything you want from a Quireboys song. Giant, catchy as hell chorus, sung wonderfully by Spike, who is such an underrated vocalist. And the type of vocals, as I said, are a gravelly voice, that sort of Rod Stewart, sort of Faces type stuff. And the guitar of, I think it's Guy Griffin who plays the lead on this. If it isn't, I'm sorry, but I thought it was. Some lovely leads where it really helps to drive the song forward, though as well as showing everything I love about the Quireboys. I mean, yeah, though this song does showcase a fairly big issue I do have with the album that we're going to come to a little bit later. Still, what an amazing start, and to us, I didn't know this track was going to be good. Live, it was amazing, I loved it, really looking forward to hearing it in the studio, and yeah, it's great. Now, Smokin, this has a rough, dirty blues feel to it, though, and he builds up, I mean, well, pretty well. I find the chorus a little lackluster, and, well, I find it odd why it's track 2, to be honest. I mean, there's definitely better on the album. Not saying this track is bad, it's just fairly mediocre, and it lacks the life that some of the other songs have. And then we get to Talk of the Town, which, even though it starts with some fairly sweet sounding acoustic guitar, and has a nice melody to it as the keyboards start to appear, and the guitar as well. And I mean, Spike's voice sounds as wonderful as ever in this ballad, though again, I just find the chorus to be fairly dull. It does feature some slight vocal harmonies, which are nice, but it just doesn't seem to go anywhere and just trundles along. I have to admit, I started to worry about this for a moment, thinking, okay, they have the great big commercial single with Too Much of a Good Thing, but is the rest of the album just filler? But no, they bring it back with Mother Mary. Firstly, I just have to say, wow. This song is the best song on the album. I mean, it's quite simply excellent. Yes, I did see this song live, so I knew what I was expecting, and it's amazing. It's just, from the song's enchanting, even haunting guitar work at the beginning, you know this is going to be quite simply an epic power ballad, and it really doesn't disappoint. Spike sings this song with such great emotion, which is definitely accented by the keyboard behind it. I love this song. It's as epic as I thought it would be. Definitely worth checking out if you want to know. Maybe if you like the album, that song and Too Much of a Good Thing I'd recommend. And I'd say yes, it is the best song on the album. Though there are some other fantastic songs, which we'll come to. So yeah, this is really the part of the album where they start to get their groove on. And then King of the Falls. This just has that classic, a bit of what you fancy, gypsy rock feel to it. And really the only band of the genre I can name. And this song, just from its rock and roll rhythm to its bluesy leads, all throughout a great chorus. Though, while this song is written fantastically, and I do like it a lot, especially the keyboards, we're going to have to get on to the main problem, which I hinted at in Too Much of a Good Thing. Now, the bass, this is what really highlights my main problem with the album, which is interesting because some of the reviews from professional publications, they actually quite like the production. I don't. No. I don't think the production on this album is very good whatsoever. The songs are quite frankly overproduced. I mean, everything in the mix sounds pretty flat, the bass being turned down until it's just a whisper. And the drums having such a dull lifeless sound. So I really hate the drums on this album. I'm sorry, Matt Goom. I think it's Goon, I'm honestly not sure. But I don't like the drums in this album. They sound so dull. I mean, Matt doesn't really play anything of any interest on them anyway. And the production's just horrible on them. I hate the drums. They really detract. And again, the bass, it just means, you know, the rhythm sections are just so lacking on this album. And yet the production really takes a lot of life out of some of these songs, and it's just not what they're like live. Things like Too Much of a Good Thing, you know, especially that song, had such energy live, and the energy just seems to have been stripped back. And I don't think it's that, you know, I don't think it's exactly Spike and Guy themselves, you know, no. But yeah, it seems it's a production. The Quireboys require slightly raw, alive sounding productions than the sterile one we have here. It's a shame. It does detract heavily from this album. But still, this album is worth a listen and a purchase, as is shown by Homewreckers and Heartbreakers, which fans will also recognise as the title of their 5th, I think, studio album. And damn, is getting a physical copy of that thing hard. I mean, seriously, I was looking that up on Amazon the other day. It was only available, I mean, like MP3 download $6.50, but physical, the cheapest was £100, and that's excluding postage. And then there's some other people selling it from Japan for like £450. It's like, shit, oh god, yeah, that's not going to be an album I'm going to get hold of probably ever. Anyway, let's get on to the song. And yeah, this starts out with some great, almost, I use this term in a few moments, watery sounding keyboards. I find it hard to describe. I don't know, it sounds almost, I don't know, a watery vibe. You either get me or you don't, I suppose. And this helps to create a great atmosphere. The thing that makes this song stand out so much is just its balls to the wall rock and roll. Giant chorus just takes you on a ride. It ain't innovative or unique, but it doesn't need to be. It's such a shining example of this band at their absolute best. It belonged on any of their albums, especially the debut, easily has the feel and groove to it combined with the commercial course. It should be a *1 single in my ideal world. It's a lovely little solo. Yeah. And then Diamonds and Dirty Stones, this Rolling Stones-esque song, continues this fantastic patch of the album with all the great aspects and the rest of the album present here. My one complaint is the drums are particularly prominent on here, and as I said, I'm not a big fan. Yeah. Still, even with the drumming that sounds like a drum machine, to be quite frank, I like to be frank in my views, and yeah, I think it sounds a bit like a drum machine. Yeah, still, it's an awesome song. Now the title track, Beautiful Cares, this pauses the all-out party rock and roll with more of a ballad, and it's a great change of pace, though it still has that fun sort of party vibe to it, as the rest of the album does. And yeah, it may be a slower tempo song that doesn't necessarily climax in the same epic way as others. I mean, still, it goes somewhere, unlike Talk of the Town, which isn't really the talk of this album. And it's a really solid, really enjoyable ballad held together by Spike's voice singing the chorus. Now Don't Fight It, some beautiful piano starts the song off, and yeah, it's a really lovely ballad, sung fairly delicately by Spike, fantastic melody to it as well, wonderful solo towards the end. To me, this song actually, I think it should have been the last track on the album. It really leaves a positive sound ringing through your ears, and I don't know, it just sounds like a real album close, but no, there's still 3 songs to go, and I mean, I'm hardly complaining, you know. I just think maybe it should have been, you know, at the end. Anyway, for crying out loud, this brings back the party rocking vibe with that sort of late 80s style, big choruses, guitar parts that almost remind me of Izzy Stradlin in the rhythm, and yeah, another really fun song. The band showing why they do party rock better than most other bands, to be honest. You know, I find it's a hard thing to do actually, to make enjoyable, that type of rock. Now, 27 years, second to last song, and we return to the more ballady sound, which this band is particularly exceptional at. I mean, and we have a lovely, I think, finger-style guitar melody which keeps the song moving, and again, it's just a lovely little ditty with more amazing Spike vocals. So let's move on to the close of this album, I Died Laughing. And yeah, this is such a great end to what is a really good album. It's a mid-tempo little song, and while fairly understated, it really hits the nail on the head, giving a classic Quireboys sound. I mean, overall, if you like the idea of fun, party-ish rock and roll, which sounds like the Faces, Rolling Stones mixed with a bit of AC/DC and their own unique brand of gypsy rocking, then you'll love this band. They are proper rock and roll, you know. And even with the not too impressive production of, God, I'm going to try and say his name, Chris Ciangarides. I honestly don't know. Chris, basically. Whoever produced the hell out of this thing with super flat sounding drums, which I don't like at all. And so I also don't like Matt Goom's drumming in this album all that much. Still, with Spike's mouth full of gravel and Guy's melodic bluesy playing, you have a lot of fun listening to this album multiple times. Definitely a good album for the summer. It may not be a bit of what you fancy, but still, there's no such thing as too much for a good thing. And even with the production being this album is still a really solid album. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Solid album, definitely worth picking up. This has been the Album Man. Thanks for watching. Conrad, subscribe, as usual. Long live rock and roll.